Welcome, everyone. Today is Wednesday, the 29th of October, 2025, and this is the Cluster API office hours. Cluster API is a sub-project of Kubernetes SIGs, and we follow their meeting guidelines, which can basically be summarized as please treat everyone as you would expect to be treated, or explicitly so, please be kind to each other. And if you have a question, please raise your hand and I will call on you. So at the beginning of our meetings, we like to make a little time for new attendees or new community members who'd like to introduce themselves to say hi. So I will be quiet for a few seconds here. And if you would like to introduce yourself, please feel free to unmute and say hi. All right, I'm not seeing anyone unmuting or raising their hands or anything. So we will move on to the open proposal readouts. And thank you, Christian, for adding a topic right in here. So please, the propagating taints readout, take it away.
Yep. I already brought up last week that work is finalizing on that one. So there was no bigger change the last days. There were some changes since the last meeting, but the last days were pretty quiet. We did some detailed discussions. I also already put up a draft issue for tracking the implementation, and wanted to ask if we could probably go into a lazy consensus deadline for the proposal to be approved. There are GTMs from Stefan and Fabrizio already there. Want to bring this up and kick it off to get to the next step. One note maybe for the implementation, we will implement all this behind a feature gate, and we will split the implementation across at least this and the next release. It's behind a feature gate, so it should not hurt the GA features, but can be used already in parts for 1.12 if everything merges as expected. Yep.
So just to be clear, you wanna have like a lazy consensus on this PR, the 12329?
Yeah, exactly.
Right, cool.
For the proposal.
Cool. I guess why don't we just
when we want to set the lazy consensus?
I would propose 1 week from today or something like that, or 1.5 weeks. I'm okay with both.
Yeah,
I think
works for me. If nothing's come up, I will merge before next week meeting.
Yeah, I think that's fine. Basically, the proposal has been open for an extremely long time, so I think everyone had a chance. So 1 week is okay.
Cool. Thank you, folks. Happy to get that feature going.
Let's see, what is next Wednesday, the 5th of November? Okay, thank you for bringing that up, Christian. Any other questions or comments about the propagating taint there? And I'll just see if we have, do we have anyone who wants to talk about the independent worker topology versions or the external CA and cert9 proposals?
And just bringing it up. So now in the last 1 or 2 weeks, we managed to unblock the taint, which was the first one in the proposal. It was the first one in the queue. And thanks, Christian, for the work. And we also unblocked a couple of PR. Some of them are still being unblocked. So I hope that we can get to this to the remaining 2 or 3 soonish. We still have I guess 1 week and 1.5 to finish up release work before getting there, but they're moving up in the queue. I just want to give this feedback to authors.
Cool, thank you. Okay, we will move on from the open proposal readouts to our discussion topics. I didn't put this in provider updates because it didn't seem like a provider update, even though it is talking about a provider, but not a cluster API provider. We've released version 0.2.0 of the Carpenter provider for cluster API. We're still a little bit behind on our dependencies, but I'm starting to understand a new level of pain as we get into a project that now has three major dependencies, one on Kubernetes, one on cluster API, and one on Carpenter. So I think we're going to try to get into a regular cadence where we can put out releases a little more regularly. The big news though is that we've continued to improve stability and performance. Like I've been testing out the Carpenter cluster API like locally, and actually been using it to demonstrate differences between cluster autoscaler and Carpenter. And I've gotten to the point where I can pretty much replace cluster autoscaler with Carpenter on my test infrastructure, and I can demonstrate differences in the way they behave on cluster API. So anyways, I just wanted to announce that here, invite everybody to take a look. We've improved some of the documentation around it. So there are still rough edges, but hopefully it'll be a little bit easier for people to use. And I wanted to kind of bring up a discussion topic, although Fabrizio, I see you got your hand up. So please, why don't you go ahead first?
No, please finish, and then I have a question for you.
Okay, cool. Well, so if people are, would entertain a little discussion here, like, we had this recent issue come up with the cluster autoscaler where like, cluster autoscaler in a situation where it's managing machine deployments and the machine deployments are rolling out upgrades, we've had to prevent the cluster autoscaler from doing any sort of scale downs during that operation. And Carpenter takes a radically different approach to it. Like Carpenter wants to be able to handle node upgrades if it notices that they drift from the configurations that they were originally created with. And when I say the original configurations, I mean the configurations that Carpenter knows about. But this kind of puts it at odds a little bit with the way machine deployments work. And I think we could get into another situation here where we might have Carpenter and the machine deployment controller kind of fighting with each other if we allow Carpenter to also manage updates. So it's kind of leading me to have some different thoughts about this, and I wanted to kind of talk through some of them if people are be interested in having the discussion.
I chime in if there is. So definitely I'm interested. So I think that we discovered not only the issue that we are talking about, that there are two sort of brain that try to manage the replica count during a process, but we also and this was my topic. We also found an issue that is still not addressed about drain. And now you are bringing up a third one that is about rollout decision, etc. So I think I'm happy to talk about it. I think that the timing is great because in this release cycle, due to in place, we just revamped all the code that takes rollout decisions, and so we have it very fresh in mind. So yeah, as soon as you want to start the discussion, happy to jump in. And I'm also interested in the demo. What is different between the two? Because I think I got an idea, but seeing live is always a nice thing to do. But yeah, yeah.
Okay, I'll come back with a demo and show how they both work, and maybe I can use some of the bugs that we've recently seen to illustrate some of their differences. And maybe what I'll do is I'll look towards a future meeting and I'll put together a little slide deck to kind of introduce the topic I'd like to talk about, and then I can use a demonstration to show how they're different. Part of my concern here, and this is, we have a lot of different options for the way that we could have Carpenter interface with Cluster API. And we have a choice to make here in terms of Cluster API has some very nice mechanisms for handling the rollout of instances in a machine deployment. Unfortunately, that it seems like that upgrade mechanism is a little bit at odds with the way some of the autoscalers work. To the extent that the autoscalers, would like to be adding and removing nodes anytime they want to. And in the case of Carpenter, Carpenter has a feature that allows it to do the node upgrades for you. So consider when to remove a node as part of its, scaling algorithms and whatnot. And so either, I think we kind of have some choices that we can make as a community. And unfortunately, I don't have like there's very few users going through this experience right now, so I don't have a lot of good data to share with people. But the notion that, will a user of Carpenter on Cluster API want to rely on the Carpenter upgrade facilities, or would they want to rely on the machine deployment, upgrade facilities? And or would they want both in some cases? And these start to create questions then about the architecture that we've designed for Carpenter. And if we maybe want to look at this again from the perspective of if the machine deployment, should be in the middle of all this. So I see I've talked enough to get people to raise their hands. So mission accomplished. Justin, you're up
Yeah,
first.
I think I was first. Thank you. Yes, I want to say I think this is a very important topic. I think it's actually like the big topic for SIG cluster lifecycle. I will plug a talk that Cyprian and I are giving at KubeCon where we're sort of talking about thinking about the control plane and the nodes sort of as two different things where we make two different decisions, or two different areas where we make two different decisions. And I hope we can talk about this more at KubeCon. One of my, I don't want to call it things that I think are mistakes. One of the things I think Carpenter does very well is it puts the node pool, the set of nodes concept into user space, right? So application users can easily create nodes for whatever they want. One of the things I think Carpenter does poorly is it sort of puts the upgrade functionality into application space as well. Maybe application space is a better term than user space. Like I feel like, hey, I want nodes to run this workload is sort of an application type concern, and I feel like the sequencing of updates of the Kubernetes version is a platform team concern. So like I was thinking, maybe what Cluster API needs is it needs an in-cluster API that is the sort of bit that we want to expose to application teams. But hey, we have one in Carpenter, and Elmico has bridged the two, so maybe this is the answer. I think that if we can figure this out, I think it will actually really help both projects because, maybe Cappy will have a great answer for the application space, and Carpenter will have a great answer for the platform team, application team divide type thing. They sort of have it with node class, I think it's called, but I don't think it's quite what we would design.
Right. And there's a really so right now there's kind of like this there if you run Carpenter Cluster API the way it is right now, you could create this weird kind of split brain approach where it's like if I updated the machine deployment would start rolling out upgrades. But if I changed the node class, then Carpenter would start rolling out upgrades. And what does that mean, in this kind of situation? So like I think it's interesting to be on the cutting edge of this, but at the same time, yeah, I'm gonna find a link to your talk and I'll put it in the notes here, Justin, and I will definitely try to be there. So thank you. Pavel, I see you've got your hand up as well. Please.
Basically, I wanted to say the same thing that was has been already covered by Justin. But you mentioned that you're gonna present more architectural slides for the next time with demo. If after I look at this in more detail, I think I will be able to adjust my own local demo and test. I have my multi-local project in GitHub, and I'll be updating it as we go. But yes, as of now, I know that we need to go towards certain direction, and in real world, of course, situations like this will be causing like 502s, of course, right? Because there can be a pool that is still being that still handles requests, and Carpenter did that decision, and some other controller on the other hand was reconciling, and something else happened. So still we have to find that bridge, and I think that I'm not sure whether it's in cluster API thing or is it separate controller, or
Uh,
maybe regular cluster API can live together with Carpenter.
I mean, I have a feeling this is one of those things we're gonna have to we'll have to see how it works, and then like again, I can in my head I can envision different ways of doing the upgrades, right? Because right now the machine deployment, changing the machine deployment, like changing the infrastructure template, the infrastructure reference on a machine deployment is going to be different than if the user changed like the node class in Carpenter. And there's like different abstractions about how they represent the infrastructure. And I think probably this is why I think I probably need to get together like some sort of slide deck or something to help show all the relationships I'm talking about here. But yeah, it's complicated, and I think this is where we need to work with users to figure out like, okay, how do users want to do upgrades? What makes the most sense for them? And yeah, maybe both mechanisms make sense, or maybe we need to decide. But I have a
Yeah,
feeling the
that's
solution will come either in the Carpenter controllers or in one of the cluster API controllers.
so basically it's a use case versus internals, and as of now, with my project, it's just internals, and that use case with the actual application, which I have there, which should be running fine with or rolling update and everything. I can also try to prepare something, but I think your demo will be more important so I could see this and continue.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Yeah, no pressure, right? We'll see how it goes. Hopefully it'll be useful to people. Okay, yeah, so I'll like, let me just take I'll just take a quick action item here. I can't say I'll get it done for next week, but we'll see what happens. Okay, any other thoughts, comments, questions, criticisms about that topic?
Maybe one. So any updates of the underlying components, such as Kubernetes or Cluster API for Carpenter, we do it manually, right? Or talking about something that's more automated. Is it in place, or is it maybe too early to ask about that?
I guess I'm not quite sure what you mean. Like Carpenter, the way Carpenter works is, you have something called a node class that defines
No, no, I'm talking about CST, like dependencies. When you release the Carpenter, do we have like a full release cycle that automatically pulls up all the underlying dependencies, such as Kubernetes,
I mean, no,
with
we're right now
yeah, we're doing it manually, right? I mean,
we're manually updating like the Go mode
and
right now.
my only question is like, is it too early to even think about it, of creating something that would be more automated,
I mean, if
as
someone
we
wants to propose putting Dependabot here to update
Yeah,
case
yeah, yeah.
Carpenter,
I was thinking about this exactly from the perspective of release team.
yeah, I mean, if you want to propose those PRs, I don't have a problem with it. I can't, like testing it and everything is one of the more, difficult parts at this point. But yeah, like
Yeah,
I don't have a problem with automating those things. We're
yeah.
just now working through, I think we're just getting to the point where we're going to have automated builds, I think. So
Mm,
we're trying to work towards that right now. So we just got a staging registry set up. We're adding automated builds. Um, and yeah, I think, you know, getting automated Dependabot stuff is probably the next step, I guess.
okay. Yeah, thanks.
All right, cool. Any other questions or comments? Okay, I'm guessing no. Um, we have no other topics on our discussion for today. No provider updates or feature group updates. So I will give the audience here one final chance if there's any ad hoc topics people would like to discuss for today. Going once, going twice. All right. Thanks everyone for coming out. And we'll see you. I guess we'll have next week's meeting. And then the week after that, I think will be KubeCon. So see you all next week. And yeah, get excited for KubeCon, I guess. Thanks, everybody.